Right? Mayor Pro Tem Brady and members of City Council, my fellow citizens and friends, it's an honor to join you once again this evening from one of America's most hallowed places, our own City Council chamber right here at Charleston City Hall. For more than 2 centuries, this grand old building, raised in the earliest days of the Republic under President Thomas Jefferson, has served us faithfully as the seat of our city's government and the site of our city's democracy. Charleston's home of we the people. Sometimes when people visit me in my office across the hall, they'll ask me what it's like to come to work every day in a place like this, a place so full of history and meaning. And after I tell them it's the greatest honor of my life, and it is, I also tell them something else. I tell them that the first time you walk up those old marble steps outside and through these doors, you almost can't help but to be bowled over by the enormity of it all. The great people, the great moments, the great debates that have occurred here. But the more time you spend here, the more the essential truth of this people's house and all its long history settles in your bones. We are, in every generation, the keepers of what President Kennedy once called the first revolution. And we continue to hold its truths to be self-evident, that we are all created equal, and that our rights come not from the kindness of kings, but from the hand of our Creator. Because it's here in this small, centuries-old pine chamber that we Charlestonians still come together every other Tuesday night to renew our commitment to the always revolutionary act of self-government, trusting our fate, as we always have, to the grace of a living God and to the common sense and collective wisdom of our citizens. I begin tonight with that old and honorable American ideal because these days, some seem so ready to abandon it. Too often and in too many places, grace in all its forms is being cast aside by those who would have us believe that half of our friends and neighbors are wild-eyed socialists and the other half are crazed insurrectionists. And too often, in too many places, the voice of common sense majority is being shouted down by small groups of loud people who think there's only one right way to say or do anything, and that's their way. Well, I think that's just nonsense, and I think you do too. Because here in Charleston, we still believe in the power of grace, and we can still hear the voice of common sense as it rings strong and true across our city and within the walls of this council chamber. And that's why the state of our city tonight is strong, Charleston strong. And it's why City Council and I will spend this year continuing to advance the concerns of our city's common sense majority, fixing flooding, fighting crime, building affordable housing, partnering directly with our residents, businesses, and other governments to expand opportunity and improve our citizens' quality of life. First, flooding. For more than 350 years, water has been our greatest asset and our biggest liability. But with the new reality of rising seas and ever more extreme weather, that challenge has now become existential. Today, we face a stark choice. Either keep moving forward with our comprehensive plans to protect the city from flooding or begin moving away to higher ground. And on that point, to paraphrase Winston Churchill, I did not become mayor of the city of Charleston in order to sound the retreat from America's most beautiful and historic city. That's why this year alone, it's really amazing, we're spending more than $100 million to move our flooding mitigation and drainage plans forwards. In West Ashley and on James and Johns Island, we'll be breaking ground on more than a dozen flood protection projects, large and small, including new and improved infrastructure, new parks designed to retain stormwater, improved maintenance and ditch cleaning, and the next phase of our award-winning Forest Acres drainage project. On the peninsula, we'll be extending the low battery towards King Street, adding drainage capacity with the rehabilitation of our archway tunnels, continuing our work along Hughie Street and the Low Line, and kicking off the final phase of the Spring Fishburne project, which, when complete, will pump more than 1 million gallons of stormwater off our streets and away from our homes and businesses every 3 minutes. But even more, this year will bring the two most critical decisions that our city will make on flooding for years to come. I believe we must be bold. First, we must continue our work with the Army Corps of Engineers to design and engineer a peninsula-wide perimeter that will protect our citizens from devastating inundation, be it from storm surge, from tides, or from sea level rise. And in the process, extend the beautiful, iconic Charleston Battery around the peninsula. Second, we must carry through on our commitment to rezone every inch of our city to finally put an end to irresponsible overdevelopment in low-lying areas. And while each of these decisions will require resolve, I'd respectfully ask that we all remember the stakes. The water is rising, the clock is ticking, the future of our city is in the balance. Next, public safety, where I'd like to begin by saluting our police officers and firefighters for their remarkable service over these past 2 difficult years. On behalf of our citizens, I couldn't be more proud of our police and fire departments, or of the fact that we as a city invest 100% of our property tax revenue in this critical life-saving services of police and fire. And here I want to take a moment to tell you about the remarkable recent work of Chief Luther Reynolds and the entire department. Protecting our citizens from crime, all our citizens on every street, in every neighborhood of our city, is the first and most important job of local government. And because we Charlestonians see that fundamental truth so clearly, we've been able to avoid the mistakes of some other cities around the country. We've increased, not decreased, our police budget every year this council and I have been together. Increases that now add up to nearly $10 million additional each year for our police department. We've invested in recruitment and retention to put our department on a path to full employment for the first time in more than a decade. We've worked in partnership with our officers to make enforcement more fair, more accountable, more effective for all our citizens, regardless of race or walk of life. And we've done all that while increasing police patrols and improving community relations in the areas of our city where our officers are needed the most. Thanks to these efforts and more by our police department and the citizens and neighborhoods they work with every day, the national crime increases that did touch our city in 2020 were stopped in their tracks in 2021. And our violent crime rate is currently almost 20% below the statewide average. Now, on the strong recommendation of Chief Reynolds and his command staff, we'll be taking 2 major steps new in 2022. First, over the next few weeks, I'll be asking council to set aside $1 million of our federal relief funds to finance a new police department program to expand and improve camera coverage throughout the city. And second, due to the high number of crimes being committed by offenders, our police have already arrested, often repeatedly, for serious crimes. Members of this council and I will be personally lobbying our state legislature for the bail and sentencing reform bills we so desperately need to begin to close the revolving door at our jailhouses. Equally important is our priority for 2022, housing that all our citizens, from teachers and firefighters to servers and retail workers, can actually afford to live in. Over the past 6 years, our city has embarked on the most ambitious municipal affordable housing initiative in the state's history, with the designation of more than $50 million in affordable housing funds and tough new laws requirements. Every large development, including hotels, to provide affordable housing or contribute an equivalent dollar amount to our housing fund. As a result, there are already thousands of new affordable homes and apartments in the pipeline, with more being added every day. And this year, we'll be able to see the results of those efforts across the city, with groundbreakings for major new affordable housing projects such as the Archer School, the James Lewis Homes, and a new apartment complex with 180 Place to help place those who are transitioning from homelessness. Perhaps most exciting, though, our housing authority is set to begin work at 275 Hugie Street, where 12 units of old rundown public housing will be replaced by 72 modern apartments for people at every affordable and workplace price range. And over the next decade, this work will continue at every public housing facility in the city until every housing authority apartment is clean, modern, and safe, and 1,500 to 2,000 new affordable homes have been added to our city's inventory. Finally, this evening, I'd like to tell you just a few about the valuable partnerships that will help us expand opportunity and improve our citizens' quality of life over the next 12 months. First, to alleviate traffic and improve safety on our streets, we'll be working directly with our partners at the federal, state, and county levels to break ground on the widening of Glenn McConnell Parkway west to Ashley, the construction of the northern Pitchfork on Johns Island, the replacement of the Beresford Creek Bridge on Daniel Island. And thanks to those same partnerships, the Ashley River Bike and Pedestrian Bridge will go out to bid for construction before the year's out. Second, to expand opportunity, we'll continue to work with our Climb Fund to ensure capital is available for local small businesses. And we're partnering with our Metro Chamber of Commerce to intentionally support the work and development of minority and women-owned businesses. And on Saturday, February 5th, coming up, we'll bring together a coalition of nonprofits that support mentoring for a major city-sponsored event to connect young people in need with adults who are ready and willing to help prepare them for success. So I ask our citizens this year in 2022 to consider mentoring a youth this year, because our goal isn't just to leave a better world for our children, but to leave better children for our world. Last, to improve our citizens' quality of life in 2022 and beyond, we'll be expanding our Keep Charleston Beautiful program that was mentioned here earlier this evening with Operation Neighborhood and Adopt a Block, two new initiatives that will partner directly with willing citizens to help keep our neighborhoods clean. Citizens like Teresa Tidestrom, who recently stepped forward to create the resident-led Keep West Ashley Beautiful initiative. And to make sure we're doing our part as a city, I'll be also asking City Council for an additional $1 million from our federal relief funds to build new and repair existing sidewalks in residential areas throughout the city. Which brings us back to the place where we started tonight, this historic People's House, where thanks to our citizens, the power of grace and the will of common sense still stands strong. And with that in mind, I'd like to leave you with this thought tonight. Never before in all of our 352-year history has this city been as prosperous, as resilient, as equitable, or as strong as it is today. Never before has our future been brighter. And while we know there will always be challenges and there are things for us to work on, we also know that as long as we remain true to the ideals that brought us here to this point, there will never be a problem we can't overcome together. And our best days will always still be ahead. Y'all, we're in a good spot. Thank you. God bless you. And may God continue to bless this great city of Charleston. Thank you very much. All right, that's a wrap. So we're still in recess and we're just going to give 5 minutes for the TV station